Call the meeting to order. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. All members are present. Approval of the agenda. We have one change. We will be taking 7H off of the agenda. Is there any other changes? Council have anything? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda with that change?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Joe, second by Heidi. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Approval of the minutes of the March 18th, 2026 regular meeting. I'll receive them in your packet. Is there any corrections or changes needed to within those minutes?
I just had one verification. There was the discussion, and I'm trying to find it here quick, in regards to the author's edition plot 2, and I had in my notes, Joe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but did you abstain or did you
He abstained.
vote in opposition?
He abstained.
Yep, typically abstain from.
Okay. I don't know, I had written down opposed, so that was my only question.
Oh,
Perfect. Okay. That's all I had.
I think I even remember.
That's,
Yeah, you abstained.
no, that's right.
Any other questions or concerns? Hearing nothing, do I have a motion to approve the minutes of March 18th?
So moved.
Motion by Brad, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Scott. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. This brings us to our public open forum. Is there anyone here that would like to speak to the council? Is there anyone here that would like to speak to the council? Is there anyone here that would like to speak to the council? Our public open forum is now closed. We have no public hearings. We'll move on to reports and presentations. EDA report, Vicki?
So the EDA met today, regular session at noon. They had very few items on their agenda. They did receive the report from the Chamber of Commerce and Sauk Center Opportunities. They passed on a counteroffer for author's edition lot sale. That is why it was taken off the agenda for tonight. What that was we received an offer and we countered it, and then they countered us back. So then they decided not to take that. And then also they reviewed the progress on author's second edition, and also they discussed, we were requested to act as a fiduciary for the community center committee, and the EDA passed on acting as a fiduciary as well on that. So no action items from them tonight.
Okay, questions? Okay, then we will move on to the feasibility report. Trunk Highway 71, phase improvements.
Okay, good evening, Mayor and Council. Gonna switch our graphics here. All right, good. So this is the public hearing for the first phase of our Trunk Highway 71 project, not the public hearing, this is for you, presentation for you. So we've gone through this a number of times already, looked at a number of these projects, specific portions of these projects. So everything is pretty much what we've discussed in the past. I don't think there's anything new that will be in here. You've all received the reports, got all the detailed figures in there. I can, maybe in the interest of respecting your time, how much detail you'd like me to get into in the presentation with this. We can make it a little bit quicker if you'd like. If you have some specific areas you want to stop and talk about, we could do that kind of as well. So just so that you're so that you know. Anyway, this is the feasibility report presentation. This is our project area. As you can see here, is quite spread out. It's not like one of our normal projects where we might have everything sort of congruent to each other, but there's little pieces all over, as evidenced by this. It is sitting sideways, so north is to the left in this particular picture here. Go through we have each of the segments is shown here. We have Cass Street, 9.5 Street shown here. Basically, there's new sewer and water on Cass Street all the way up. The one side, water goes all the way from Getty Street to Main. Sewer doesn't quite go all the way because the last lot is connected to Getty. We do have a little bit of storm sewer at the intersection. Now, some of those are some details yet that as we get into plans, if we decide to move forward, such as that storm sewer that's right there, it's possible we might pull that out and leave that actually part of the Trunk Highway 71 Phase 2 portion of the project. Kind of depends on how we can connect things up. It's right at the intersection, so they could make those connections, but so we'll have to make some final determinations as to what phase this may end up going in. The cost necessarily wouldn't change. It's a question of kind of when it would be done, when it makes the most sense for things to be done. But I do have it shown in through here. We do have, as I've talked about, by splitting these, we'll have to make temporary connections. As an example here, the sewer and the water will have to be connected to the existing sewer and water on Main Street. And then once the phase 2 comes through, if you can see it, I'm going to take this with. It's better if I point. I can use laser, but it sort of disappears on these things. So the future is this over here as an example on Cass Street for the sanitary sewer. So we'll be connecting here now, but in the future, this would be the run where it would connect to. So there'd be a connection, and then with the phase 2, we'd pick that up and tear the manhole out and continue on with it. So those kind of how similar things with water. We'll have to connect to the water. In the future, we'll be connecting again to the new water as it goes through. So that's pretty much the same on all of them at the connections of Main, so I won't continue to go through that, but that's what will have to happen on all of those. 9.5 Street, once again, we come down all the way from 71. In the future, this is where the sewer comes down through here and comes this direction. This is in the alley through here. A couple of stubs here. It comes down and connects in down in through here at essentially this driveway. What it really is here, and water through here. New curb and gutter through these. Cass Street has sidewalk on the north side of the road with this one. 8th Street South and 7th Street South. 8th Street South is up here. There's just water on that one. There's also a storm sewer connection that would have to be done, connected temporarily, and then once again connected throughout. 7th Street down here, there's new sanitary sewer. There's sanitary that goes up through the alley through here as well, up to this location. This actually feeds this home right here, the Dank parcel. Storm sewer comes up through here as well, and it goes all the way up to 6th Street, actually crosses, and it goes a little bit into the alley on the other side, the north side of 6th Street. This connection here would come out. There's nothing here to connect to it at the moment. We would end up temporarily having to come back and connect in the storm sewer that comes through here. Eventually, that would all be replaced, and it would come back out through here because we don't really want it to come back through here anymore. This is actually deeper. This is one of the areas where we actually would have water that would sort of backfall in this storm sewer system until phase 2 comes through. And there's really nothing. We'll look at it in more detail in design, but I don't think there's anything we can do about it in the 2-phased approach, unfortunately. Okay, whoops, I forgot I'm sorry. This is that's nothing I need there. 6th Street South, 5th Street South, 5th Street South here on the bottom. It's just the street. This is the portion that we took out of the 2025 project. We have walk on both sides of the roadway. We do have a kind of a split width street that we discussed here with a 40-foot street in through here and back to a 36-foot street in through this other half. So that's what's in through there. 6th Street South is a 36-foot wide street, and it goes between Main Street and Getty. We do have our water. We have sanitary that's half the block, and this is that rest of that storm sewer that comes through the alley and to the north side of 6th Street, and we do have sidewalk on the south side of 6th Street South through here. 2nd Street South, this is, the whole thing is 2nd Street South. This is from the west end at Oak Street. We do have that wider section through here, which is in front of Frederick's Auto through here, or I guess maybe it's a side street through there. It gets wider as we come from west to east. We do have, I wouldn't necessarily call it sidewalk, but sort of walk that's, it's all concrete through here. We do have walk that's in front of the residence that's on the corner there at Oak. And we also then have sidewalk on the north side. As you come across the 71 to the east side, we once again then come back to a 36-foot wide street. We have walk that's on both sides of the road through here. From Pine to Birch, same things, all reconstruct. And we have sidewalk on both sides of the road. The red is the storm sewer that you can see through here. The green is sanitary water that's all replaced. Everything down to Birch. And then continuing on, this is just a patch where we'll be putting storm sewer through that comes all the way down and into ultimately a ponding area that's at the very end of 2nd Street South at the east end. This inlay shows we're going across the river now, so this is the little segment of Lake Street North that has to be connected. It's got a little segment of sanitary sewer, water, and a small storm section as well. This is another one that potentially could get moved to phase 2 when we look at details and how it's going to play in with the next phase of the project. 2nd Street North. 2nd Street North, we have Main Street on the east, on the left side over here, coming down to Pine. This once again is a reconstruct through here. We have larger storm sewer that comes off of 71. Through here, this is carrying 71 water as well. We have sanitary sewer, we have water, we have sidewalks on both sides. That is our standard 36-foot wide street through there. As we come past Pine, this is the rest of it coming down to about halfway between Pine and Birch. Our storm sewer then comes down and comes into a ponding area, which is on another section you'll see. And we also then disconnect and reconnect this storm sewer that's coming off of Birch back into, into that ponding area. And we'll have another slide of that ponding area in just a minute. Linden Lane going to the north. This is the one where we have that 32-foot wide roadway. We just have water through here, and we moved it to the north a little bit as we discussed. We have that turnaround for emergency vehicles at the end. We don't have enough to do a hammerhead turnaround at the far end. So this puts us, this is city property, so it's within our property in order to do that. So it fits quite well in through there. The bottom starts our bypass roadway. This is from west end going to the east. So this is the water treatment plant's driveway through here currently. So we would turn it so it comes in more of a 90 degrees to this roadway. Continues through here. This is a rural section through here. So this is 2 driving lanes, a shoulder, and a little bit of gravel shoulder on each side as we come through. I'll continue on with that. The next is this one up here. Kind of winds a little bit through here. This is a lot of floodplain back in through this area. We do have wetlands as well through here. This is the tip of a wetland. We actually just kind of thread this road right through where we can go with staying out of the floodplain, staying out of wetlands. There is a storm sewer, fairly large storm sewer crossing right in this location. Connects back into Morning View on the far, I guess I'll call it the south and east end of the project. This is one that shows the storm sewer pond between 1st and 2nd Street North, what it would look like through here. We've got a little bit of a berm in the middle. That's where water would actually flow over that portion. And we actually have a water main that comes through here still to the well that's on the south side of 1st Street South, or 1st Street North, sorry. New connection across 1st Street, a new pipe that goes across and empties into that ditch that's along the south side of 1st Street North. This goes back to that alley between 7th and 6th. So once again, this is that sanitary and that storm sewer that comes all the way up through that alley and goes just a little bit north of 6th Street South through there. Go to 8th Street. 8th Street is a full reconstruct all the way to the end. We are showing currently a full cul-de-sac on the end. That is something we'll discuss. We've talked about whether we could do something smaller, maybe just a hammerhead turnaround, something on that end, as a way maybe to reduce some costs and also reduce some of, we would need some easements in this area from property owners. This property owner, as well as the school district, owns a couple of small parcels in here. So this will be something we'll be having to discuss with them, and perhaps we do something different as to what that turnaround really needs to be in that particular area. But for our purposes now, and I wanted to sort of have the worst-case scenario, we showed a larger cul-de-sac. It would fit in here, so it could be, it is doable if we want to go this route. The storm sewer, the red is the storm sewer. That's the connection for Ash Street, at Ash Street, where we just did the 2025. Continues on to the east, comes up, connects in, actually follows the existing line through here. So that's exactly what's there. Now just a smaller, much smaller pipe and an easement that comes through here. So water comes all the way to the end, sewer through here. One thing to note is there isn't a lot of right-of-way through here. This is similar to A Street on the other side. We can get in a 33-foot roadway is all we can fit in there, and that's what's shown through here. So we can discuss as we get into design if we want to narrow that slightly, maybe a 32 or something. If we want to have parking, perhaps only on one side of the road through here, but that's something we'll have to have a little more discussion as we get into design as to what the council would like to see in this area. And it's just this block where we have that issue with the right-of-way. Everything else from East Street to the other side is fine. We have our standard 66-foot right-of-way through there. So that's what we have. We have sidewalk on the north side of the road on Ace, which is a connection to what is on the other side of Ash Street. We do have a crossing here as we connect in to go down for the school, along through the school, connects into their system over here. So that's what's proposed for the sidewalk for those areas. And lastly is just the very end as it goes through the school and discharges into the floodplain on the far east end. With that, I'm just showing a couple pictures. You've seen some of these before, what kind of water main PUC, this PUC would be paying for these things, what the utility looks like, what the water side and the sanitary sewer. These are kind of typical of what some of the sewer and water services would look like for homes, what storm sewer construction kind of looks like through there. And this is our street widths. We have kind of some different things here. We have labeled all the streets up here. Our existing widths vary from 30 to 45 feet wide throughout the project. The proposed widths are basically we have 36-foot face-to-face, except, which there's a fair number of exceptions. 9.5 Street is 32 feet, which is about what it is right now. 7th Street is 28 feet on the west end, so that's like from the alley going to the west, going up to Getty. And we talked about not having parking in there because we just don't have room. 5th Street is 36. It varies from 36 to 40 feet. 2nd Street South varies from the widest end is 44.67 feet, and that's kind of from Oak to Main. Linden is at 32 feet we discussed. 8th Street South is at 33 feet we discussed between Ash and East Street. And as I mentioned, the bypass actually has a 30-foot total paved top, which is 2 driving lanes, 4-foot shoulders on either side. So it's 22 feet of driving, 11, 4 foot, and 4 foot on either side is paved. And then there's additional 2 feet of gravel on either side of that as well. So those are the street widths. The cross sections be our standards for most of it would be our 8-inch aggregate base, 2-inch base course, 1.5 inch of wearing course, except 2nd Street from Oak to Pine, which would be 3-inch aggregate base and a 3-inch base, it's supposed to be 8-inch aggregate base, sorry about that. 3-inch base course and 1.5 inches of wearing course in through there. So it's got a little more stout for the traffic that we get through those areas. The assessments might be easier to see, hopefully what you have in your packet, but total project costs are just a little over $7.2 million. You can see we have streets are about $2.2 million, about $650 for the bypass roadway. There's about $670 in lateral sanitary sewer, a little over $1 million in lateral water mains. Sewer services are about $103,000. Water services, $108,000. Some water service for a commercial is a little more expensive, $5,200, so there's only one of those. Storm sewer is $434,000. Commercial, $302,000. Some storm sewer that is deferred, that's actually related to phase 2 is what I have in there, so that's 1.4 million. So the purpose of that is it's then not included in the assessments for these portions at this point. And then the concrete walk is $232,000. So the assessment rates are listed over here. Services, example, are like $2,000 to $2,300, which is pretty close to what we've been seeing. They've been right around $2,000 generally for sewer and water. I think 2025 project was, I want to say like maybe it was 1,900 or 1,800. So there's a little, it's gone up a little bit from what I'm estimating for these. Concrete walk is about $11 a square foot. So our total breakdown, our percentages, 55.5 city, 24% for PUC, and the assessments are about 20% of this. About $4 million for city costs, 1.7 for PUC, and about 1.5 for total assessments. There are 93 total parcels to be assessed with this project, so that's where we're at. So with that, I'll end and I'll ask if there's any questions.
Questions?
You go back to that assessment summary, just that last slide, you had the
Yep.
concrete walk, the assessable percentage at 35%. The individual assessments for each one of these here, you had it at 100% was assessed to the property owner, so which one are we?
Yeah, that should be, the walk we're doing 100%, correct, Vicki, if I recall? I believe that's good. That I think is just an error on my
Okay,
list
yeah,
here.
because I noticed that discrepancy, so I want clarification on that.
Yep. I think I was copy and pasting and forgot to change it, so I apologize for that.
Anyone else have any questions?
I have a few questions.
Yep.
In reference to the pricing and to the project cost as a whole, I know you broke it down in percentages and costs, but I'm going to the back page where you actually have broken down the cost based on development, easements, design. It looks like there's about $1.7 million that's outside of just construction. 1.2 million, that is just administrative type of costs, which is, I think, roughly 17%, which seems like a exuberant number. And then there's also 560,000 or 557 of contingencies. Contingent for what?
Those are for things especially at this stage of the game, if there's things that come up that we're not anticipating at this particular moment. Normally, I have those in the 5 to 10% range. I've kept this on the higher side for this one. That doesn't mean those if we don't use those, that means the numbers come down, obviously, in terms of what's being assessed. But for now, I have those in there for contingencies as to things that might be outside of what we've observed at this point in time, something that comes up in design, something that could even come up in construction that we're not aware of at this point in time. So that's what the purpose of those.
I understand that, but, excuse me, when you look at the assessments, the estimated ones that are across the next 30 pages or whatever you got there, 20, those assessments on an average are $15,000 to $20,000 a lot. That's a lot of money.
It is, yes.
And, I mean, I think I saw just a very handful that were less than $10,000. And the majority of them 16 to 20. I'm just beside myself on what these costs that we are anticipating on assessing to people for this project. I don't know how we're ever going to be able to sell that. That's just my opinion.
Okay. You got more? Okay. You keep, on the stormwater, you're talking temporary hookups all the time. Now, if Highway 71 plan wasn't even in the books, and we were gonna do this, is there a difference between a permanent hookup or a temporary if there is no 71? You know, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Is there a cost difference?
We'd still have to make, Well, what would happen is we have to connect to it, and then the next time around, someone's got to make that connection again. They got to tear out that structure they're connecting to and then continue on. There's always a cost for that removal and that connection. So there's going to be essentially an additional, if it was all being done at one point in time, you wouldn't have that. You would only have the removal, say, of the pipe, removal of the structures one time, as opposed to doing it, and then every time I connect to something, there's always a cost for that, to make that connection. And we wouldn't have that if it was all part of one project. So every time we're doing I'll be connecting to, an example on, say, a sanitary sewer, I'm connecting to the existing the existing manholes there. Well, eventually that manhole is gonna go away, you gotta connect to that pipe. So we're gonna only pay for removing that manhole one time, which is fine, but we'll end up paying for connecting to that manhole and then connecting to that pipe again. The first time we'll connect to that manhole, the second time we'll have to connect to that pipe again to make it all one piece, if you will. So there's wire, there's extra. Every time you connect to something, touch something again, there's always a cost for that.
Okay, so when they do 71 the following year, if we just hook it up as if they're not even part of this, the storm sewer is gonna be our cost.
Storm sewer be our cost, yeah. And then
Water and sewer I know about,
yeah,
but
in the storm, we'll be paying for our percentage of that moving forward. They haven't shared with us their final design, they haven't shared with us those breakdowns. We should be paying a percentage of that. If they're gonna make us pay for 100% of those connects, I wouldn't think they would do that. I can't guarantee that at the moment. It seems like we should be paying our share of all those costs. Whatever that cost is, we should pay our share, whatever percentage that might be. But
okay. The other question I got is that stretch of storm sewer from Ash Street through the school property all the way out to the river.
Mhm.
Do we need to actually do that with this now? Or is there too much water gonna be going through on that pipe for it to handle it until we decide we wanna do it 5-6 years from now?
Well, that would be, we won't have capacity. The question will be how MnDOT will look at their water discharge from 71. If they don't have the capacity all the way, it opens up a nice discussion with them, obviously, which
Because
we
the
talked
main
about.
reason why I asked that question is because we know where all the water's coming from on both sides of 71 now.
Yeah.
And we fixed pretty much any problem we ever had underneath the viaduct and up on Getty Street. So we know where all that water's coming from. So if it's handling it now, why do we need to replace it from Ash out to the river just because 71's coming through? I don't think the water's gonna be that much difference.
Well, I would say visually we've done, so we're seeing it better. We're not seeing the flooding like we've seen in the past. From an analysis perspective, from a 10-year storm event, we don't have that capacity to get from there out.
Yeah.
That's what I would be looking at. I know that's what they will be looking at.
Because right now, whenever we have a heavy storm, if any water's in the viaduct or anywhere else, it's gone within a half hour to an hour. So it isn't like even if we have that 1 in 50 year,
Right.
to me, the system we got is in place and can handle it. So I don't even know if it needs to be on the docket, but I'm on my opinion.
Well, certainly those are discussions that we can have with MnDOT as we get into those designs.
Right.
But, I would have to say at this point in time, we'd have to assume we're going to do it, at least for now. We could put that portion sort of on pause and kind of see how the discussions play out and see if it is something that we could delay, and not actively work on that portion of it. I mean, that could be something we certainly could do, but we'll have to see. But, I'm quite sure their analysis is going to reflect what I'm saying as well, that we don't have the capacity going through there. And yes, it's much better than what it was, but it's not going to meet their design criteria. So, it'll be a discussion.
All right.
Has we ever had water in the catch basin, so to speak, right there at that intersection behind Thompson's house? Have we ever had?
Hi, Thompson.
Yeah. Have you ever seen water in there? I guess I don't know that I've ever seen water in that spot.
It gets soft. It gets wet,
But that's what
it's
that's
gone.
designed to take on the,
Right.
and if I'm kind of following what you're saying. I don't know that we have a major problem other than I am concerned about our stormwater going underneath a existing property up there on the,
Right.
you know what I mean, on by Ash. But, because in following from what Warren's saying, on page 8, you made note on here that we will have, will likely include a backup of stormwater in the interim due to the current elevations, meaning we're likely to have problems
So we're talking
in
on,
an event?
we're talking on 7th Street.
Yep.
So, yeah, if we had a significant event between the time it was installed and the time it was ultimately connected in 2028, we could have some backup through there. I wouldn't anticipate anything serious from what we see now through there. But, I just wanted to make sure that you were aware that it wouldn't be designed to totally flow out because we just don't have the elevations
Right.
through there. So it's kind of a
It's-
temporary situation.
The way I'm seeing this is it's basically the system can handle it because there isn't gonna be any more tar than there already is. Maybe a little bit, but not to the point that it's gonna blow manhole covers off and everything like that. It's strictly an engineering design along with MnDOT design that's pushing the issue. It isn't a problem we have.
Well, we used to design, way back, it's been 10-plus years now, but everything was designed for a 5-year storm event. Now it's a 10-year storm event. So we don't, when we
Right.
do the analysis, and to get back to the pond situation, the question, I personally haven't seen water in there. I can tell you by doing the modeling, there's actually not a lot of water that goes in through there in the 100-year. And part of it is the way it's configured. It just doesn't, I don't think it works quite maybe as it was originally thought of.
It used to until we went and put all the water down into the 4th Street storm sewer. When we fixed that up there and caught it before it got to the viaduct.
Yeah, probably when it built up a little bit more under the viaduct, probably more of it went in there. But as it's designed as where things are going now, it doesn't get that much. I think that thing, I'm going from memory here, but I don't think it gets much more than like 2 feet deep in a 100-year event in through there. It isn't great.
It hasn't come close to that, so,
Yeah.
And
Okay.
then, if I could follow up, Warren he made a comment about, can we do it, do we do certain parts of it or not? And the other thing that I want to say is, you're talking about how we have to pay to have it installed temporary, and then, as you mentioned, Warren, pay it a second time. Are we kind of ahead of the game? Would it, and this sounds crazy, but why would we not maybe wait and only do it one time after 71 is in, and then use their costs and us connect to that, rather than us do it first and then have to do it a second time? I'm just throwing it out there. I'm trying to,
it's the word temporary that bothers me when we're talking street connections.
I'm just trying to figure out when is the best timing to take on, $7 more million worth of costs, but also to not add costs to a project if it's not 100% necessary. Some of these projects have to be done, don't get me wrong, we don't have anything over the river at one point, but you know what I mean? There's parts of it that I can totally understand, but I'm questioning some of the double costing.
Yeah. Not that money means something, obviously. Those connections are not a huge portion of the total dollars, but they are dollars. There's probably 20 connections in there, several $1,000s each, so we're talking probably at least 50, 60, some $1,000s of costs that we wouldn't have if it was all done at once.
The only situation to what Brad was saying is, we could probably do it at the same time they're doing 71, but that, say, 6 million or whatever is gonna end up on what we're gonna pay for our share. So that, whatever that number is, you're gonna add that to it, so it's not gonna go away. So,
How much of this added, all of these added projects that we're doing, I mean, we've been, creating this tax fund for a long time, and trying to hope we can do it even longer, if our legislation allows it. But, I mean, are we able to take some of those costs, and maybe this is a Vicky question, are we gonna be able to take some of those costs to help offset some of these assessments, some of these huge expenses?
So if you look at the costs on there, the city costs, a lot of those will be covered, proposed to be covered by the sales tax dollars. The special assessments that you have in front of you are calculated by our current special assessment policy, exactly how it's written today. If we want to modify that policy, if we want to apply tax dollars to any of those, if we want to change percentages, that was something the city council can do. We changed the policy recently from 50 to 35% to be assessed. And is that still a good number? I don't know. Is the council interested in establishing some type of cap based on value of property? That's something we can look at. So the assessments you see in front of you are just simply out of our special assessment policy applied to this specific project. And that's why you see that number. We didn't want to start putting out numbers and not have a justification or a base for it. Looking at the sales tax, like that storm sewer and those kinds of things, that will cover a lot of those costs. So the goal is to not have to levy for this project.
Right.
So, I don't know, this might be something that you want to kick over to the finance committee during this process, just to kind of look at what those numbers would look like as applied to this process, and the same with the assessment policy. And that's something certainly you have the option to do.
When you mentioned, Warren, that it, in the future would then be a cost to the city, that is also something that we could maybe consider to ease the heartburn of these special assessments.
well, I know there's a few cities out there, I can't think of one right now, but they basically got rid of the assessment policies. It just automatically goes on their tax rolls. So if you're on the south end and we do one on the north end, your taxes are gonna go up. It's gonna be a citywide tax increase,
It's just a levy to service the bond debt for the
rather than
project.
assess the property owner so much. It goes on the tax rolls and everybody pays for it. Whether you ever drive on that street in your life, you're gonna pay for it.
Well, and that would have been what would have happened had we not had this property, or our local option sales tax increase, right?
Well, that wouldn't affect the assessments, but with
No.
the
But
city
But our
costs.
bonded, yeah.
If we were to do a bond that had a levy component, yes. And if we got rid of assessments, that would just be a higher levy component.
What's the current cap and the proposed cap for this sales tax that we're gonna have for legislation? Just refresh
10
my
million.
memory. This was 10 million, and we're gonna go to 20, right?
10 million is where it's at right now.
And then the proposal is for a $20 million cap with the new
Right.
legislation that would go to vote.
But that would
this
be
fall.
for both Phase 1 and Phase 2.
Correct, that'll pay for
Yeah.
both costs. Do we have an estimate of what our cost would be for the Phase 2 71 project at all? Any ballpark?
I did some calculations based on the recent ones that Keith gave, this project and that project, and the interest on the bond. I think we were gonna be around 16 million at this point.
Combined?
Yeah. But we don't know yet whether we're gonna get that
Correct.
approval.
Right.
so.
Yeah.
Plus, even if the legislature passes it, it has to go to the
Yeah.
city vote in November. And
Yep.
if they say no, then,
And then it stays at 10. So,
yeah, we're stuck. And then we gotta figure out where the rest of that money's coming from, if
Comes
they
through.
vote it down.
and then it's assessed and levied.
Huh?
Now it's assessed and levied, right?
Well, that's about it.
There's no other way.
They're right. Yeah, they create their own destiny, so. Any other questions?
No.
Okay, thank you, Keith. We'll move on to action items. 7A, approve Resolution 2026-21, receiving the feasibility report and calling for a public hearing on improvement of Trunk Highway 71 Phase 1. She's getting everything shut off.
Okay, this is the feasibility report based on we just received tonight. What happens next is we would call for a public hearing on the improvement, and then we would have notices out to all of the residences that are in the affected area. After that public hearing, then if they move to go forward, then we would order those final plans and specs, and then go out to bid after that. So what's before tonight is to receive the report and call the hearing on the improvement. Because of the advertising that we need to do for the hearing, we can't do it at the next meeting, so I proposed either the May 6th meeting, or what did I put the other one in there for the April 29th?
April 29th, the week before.
So basically, by taking this step, we are saying we're gonna move forward with this phase 1 and continue on.
Means we're gonna have a hearing with the public to decide if we're gonna move
Right, so
forward.
we're gonna present to them the costs that we just reviewed, basically.
Right.
Okay. Questions or comments? Otherwise, I'll look for a motion to approve Resolution 2026-21.
I'll make the motion to receive the report, call for a public hearing, proposed date. I think we need to go with a special meeting because it'd be
It's gonna be
pretty,
a long one.
yeah, if we did it in a regular meeting.
So the April
Pretty quick meeting. So I
29th
would propose April 29th
at 5:30.
at 5:30 for the special hearing.
Okay, we have a motion by Joe. Do I have a second? I'll second it. Any other discussion? I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries 4 in favor, 1 against. 7B, approved direct voting agreement with Stearns County.
So Stearns County has requested an agreement with the city for providing early voting for both the primary and the general election in 2026. Citizens within the city limits will be able to vote up to 7 days before each election, not including Sunday, so they'll be able to come in on Saturday as well. The agreement outlines the duties of the county, the duties of the city. In exchange for providing the service, the city will be reimbursed $827.50 for each election. And I did attach the agreement for your review. This is basically the same agreement that we did 2 years ago with the county. And so we're looking to approve the agreement with Stearns County for early voting.
Comments?
Does that cover any of our costs, really? $827? Just curious.
Well, during the day, we got someone in the office, but Saturday is, yeah, I don't know, does that cover our costs?
Does that really even cover-
Totally?
Well, what we do is we'll cover it with existing staff, because their existing staff members are also election judges, and then Saturday I work because I'm on salary. So, and then we'll have one other person work on Saturday as well, so.
It's,
I guess.
they do have options to go elsewhere if we decide not to.
Actually, the county just kind of voluntells us. You know, we don't really get a choice.
They just tell us?
Yeah.
So if we deny it, they're gonna make us do it anyway?
This is just an agreement outlining it, but yeah, if we don't approve it, they still, as the county, can tell us that we have to provide the service. It actually works out pretty good for people, to be honest with you. So, and the one thing that's gonna change, I believe, not 100%, but I'm thinking now, they used to have to come in and fill out an absentee ballot application in order to early vote, and now they're changing it, so we'll be able to just print out their sticker, put it on the form, and sign it and go. So that's what it sounds like it's going toward.
I'm one that's always believed that election day is election day, not a week prior or 2 weeks prior, and whenever it's convenient for you, so,
Well, we did get it from 15 days down to 7,
yeah.
so better.
I just don't like the idea that the county's telling us we have to be open. It's kind of like, yeah, go ahead, do it, but if you don't, we're gonna slap your hand. So, what's the council's wishes?
I'll make a motion to approve the agreement. I think it's a benefit to the community for those that use it, I guess. Not that I
I'll second.
And a
excited
second
about
by
it.
Joel. Any other discussion? Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Motion carries 3 in favor, 2 against.
Who was the 2? I wasn't.
Scott and myself.
Scott Warren.
7C, approve appointment of seasonal employees, Park and Streets.
So Public Works Supervisor Ben Klink has requested the appointment of the following returning summer seasonal appointments, along with the addition of Perry and Molly Engel to the campground. So we have Carter Kleinschmidt, Dwayne Waletsko, and Patrick Gonzalez coming back to help in the Parks and the Streets Department. And then Mark and Kathy Whitman and Perry and Molly Engel will be in the campground. So that's our seasonal appointments for this year. The only one that's new is Perry and Molly Engel. We're looking to approve the summer seasonal appointments as presented.
Okay, questions, concerns? Otherwise, do I have a motion to approve the summer seasonal appointments?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Heidi, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Joe. Any other discussion? Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7D, approve resolution 2026-22, Minnesota flag.
So the city has the option on whether or not to fly the Minnesota state flag. The 1983 flag is continued to be flown at City Hall and at other city locations. The city council can formalize this practice by resolution. The attached resolution formalizes the intent of the city council of Sauk Center that it will not fly the official Minnesota flag, which is the newer version adopted in '94. And I do have the language in front of you as Resolution 2026-22 that says, barring any unknown state of Minnesota statutory requirement, the Sauk Center City Council has decided until further notice of a statutory change or further a vote of the people of Minnesota on this matter, that it will not be flying or displaying the official Minnesota state flag in the city offices or city council chamber, nor upon any of the flagpoles controlled and maintained by the city of Sauk Center. So as I said, that's Resolution 2026-22.
Questions, comments? There is no state law saying we gotta fly the state flag at any time, no matter which one it is.
No, there is not.
We've been flying the old one. So,
Has anybody had any community members reach out asking us why we're flying the old one versus
I've
the
had
new one and stuff?
And whose choice, or who's making that decision? I've had somebody, just one, and that's the reason why I had this brought up to, because that way it's not putting the onus on the mayor or the city administrator. If we vote as a resolution, whether to or not, that way people can't question who's making that decision. It's the council then.
So were they concerned we're flying the old flag versus the new flag, or they want one versus the other?
I've had more comments about,
The old one being
Same.
is good, yeah, I
Yeah.
have too. But I've had somebody, and I'm not gonna mention names, but who makes that decision of what flag we fly? And instead of putting the onus on an individual, this way it's a resolution and send the city record that it's the council's choice of which one we're gonna fly.
So is the decision we're gonna continue to fly the old one and not the new one, or are
It's
we
a
just not gonna
decision not to-
fly a Minnesota flag at all?
it's the resolution is opting not to fly the official Minnesota state flag, which, in my opinion, isn't official.
It was never voted
It
on.
never was voted on to be the official anyway.
I
So
concur.
it's kind of moot point to me, because I'll come straight out and say it, we just won't fly that. We won't fly any state flag if it goes the wrong direction on this vote. You know, if we're not gonna fly the one that's up there now, and then someone wants goes that way, we just take it down, we won't fly it at all. Because we're not required to.
Well, yeah, we're not required to, but
Would that
We're
be a
making an issue
decision
of
then,
which
again,
one
the
it is now.
council would have to make together to not fly it? Because then by doing that, you know, Scott's purpose of putting this on the agenda is to not put onus on one person, but kind of just said, you'd like to own this discussion with that
Yeah.
decision.
He didn't think that Vicky and I had broad enough shoulders to handle it, so.
Oh, I don't
That's the
believe
reason
that.
why it happened, but,
This is coming to a lot of council's discussions, so.
yeah, right. But we also know where they're going with it, so. It's not with the new one.
Well, as of right now, I mean, obviously, I don't co-pilot how much you can rely on that. There's 12 cities and 4 counties that have opted out,
Right.
is what it is.
Yeah.
Of the new one. I mean, the process was the process through a democratically elected legislature, and they used their process to choose the new flag. I don't know why we're making a controversial topic to the city that, you know, now raises the issue that we really could have just avoided.
But I specifically had somebody come up and ask me that question. That's the reason why I brought it up, so that it is official. And that's our stance. You can vote against or you can do whatever you want. But I'm gonna make a motion that we approve that resolution 2026-22 opting not to fly the official Minnesota state flag.
Okay, we got a motion. Do we have a second? I'll second it. Any other discussion?
I will just comment that the unspoken discussion piece of this is putting a partisan vote based on the public climate that this flag flies around. And I don't think that's fair to a nonpartisan council.
True.
I guess I would also say if we are not flying the new flag, we're also not saying we're flying the old flag. What are we flying?
We don't need to.
So we're saying we're either flying nothing or we're flying the old flag. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. I think that's
Pretty
what
much
it's-
what it is, yep.
Personally, I don't have a problem with the old flag. Again, I just think that it's not something that should be attached to a partisan decision.
And we're not forced today, right, to fly any flag, either flag. Is
Either
that
flag,
correct?
Right.
Correct.
So if we're not forced today, are we just creating our own problem? I'm just asking by posing the question.
I don't know if it's creating a problem. The thing is it's more like Heidi said, it's making it a partisan, because if you vote one way, it's gonna show which side you're on, and if you vote the other way, it's gonna show the other side, or, you know.
I
Would-
wouldn't agree with that.
I wouldn't agree with that.
It's a partisan thing
It's
that's.
a partisan issue, yes, but I don't think it's gonna necessarily say which side of the aisle we file on. It just may just be you don't say, well, we're not gonna take a position that says we're strictly not flying the, you know, new flag.
Right. Any other comments? Otherwise, we got a motion and a second. We'll go to a vote. We call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Abstentions?
Aye.
Heidi, did you?
I did vote yes.
You did, okay.
Yes.
I didn't hear you, I'm sorry. So motion carries 3 in favor, 1 against, 1 abstention. Approve Resolution 2026-23, accepting DNR grant.
So the city, through its fire department, applied for a $2,500 matching grant through the DNR Assistance to Firefighters Program to assist with the purchase of pagers and radios. We've been notified the grant has been approved for funding, so what's in front of you is Resolution 2026-23, accepting the grant and authorizing execution of the grant documents.
Questions? Concerns? Do I have a motion to approve Resolution 2026-23?
So move.
Motion by Brad. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Heidi. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Aye.
Motion carries 3 in favor, none against, 2 abstentions. 7F, approve Arbor Day declaration.
So Arbor Day 2026 falls on Friday, April 24th. As part of the Tree City Initiative and to maintain Tree City status, the mayor shall annually proclaim that date as Arbor Day, and it encourages residents to celebrate Arbor Day to protect trees and woodlands and to plant a tree on this date. So I do have the official proclamation in your packet for our Tree City USA, and I'm requesting that the city approve that Arbor Day proclamation for April 24th, 2026.
Questions, concerns? Do I have a motion to approve Arbor Day?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Scott, seconded by Joe. Is that okay?
Yep.
That's fine.
Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7G, next steps, Old Mill Apartments.
So the time has passed that was granted to the owner of the Old Mill Apartments to provide the city with a plan for the apartments to make the necessary repairs to restore it for human habitation. He has not come forward with a plan and as of this date, but he has been offering it for sale. I have tried to reach out to him. He has not called me back. His voicemail is full, so I'm not sure what his intention is at this point. There's some options that the city has. You can grant the owner more time. We can move forward with condemnation. We can purchase the property and demolish it. I also called the county on the tax forfeiture. If we allowed it just to sit and go tax forfeit, it would forfeit in '29, be offered for sale in 2030. And in the meantime, the county would, once they get it in '29, they would secure the building, of course, but they said likely not demolish it. They would try to sell it as it is. So that's a fourth option that you have on your list. So I'm just looking to see which direction you want to point me into, so I can kind of get your feeling of what you want to do. I could come back with some more costs on what some of these things might cost. But I didn't want to go too far without having that conversation with you about what you want me to do next.
Okay. Questions? Concerns?
Would the second option of moving forward with the condemnation proceedings, would that eventually lead to or just prolong that tax forfeiture process?
It wouldn't do anything about the tax forfeiture because it's likely he would not pay his taxes.
Right.
Moving forward with condemnation would be the legal fees through the court system to get the court to order that he demolish the building.
Okay.
And then whether he does it or not, or if we have to step in and do it and then put it on his tax. Usually what happens in that is the city then hires the contractor, pays for the work, and then assesses it to taxes, and then it goes tax forfeit. So, we're kind of, either way, probably going to have some outlay.
Okay.
But I could come back with more timing and cost attributable to each of these. Maybe I'll still try to get hold of him
But
via
if-
certified mail at this point and see what his
But if we
plans
go along with the condemnation proceedings, any costs of the city can be applied to the property, right?
are. Right.
Okay. Because the first option, granting more time, I think that's not even, he's had plenty of time. And purchase the property and demolish it, I don't think want to get into that mess yet. Unless the EDA's got a lot of money that I don't know about. But they can do it or get a development grant or whatever like that, but I'm leaning toward just moving with the condemnation proceedings and put him on notice and start passing the bills on to him for any of it.
I would feel that's our best position personally as well. I
Yeah.
think.
I concur.
Okay. So
Potentially is, but I think we still need to know what those costs are and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, what we're laying out for legal costs and, if we end up getting it paying for the demolition, I mean, then we're in the same boat. And if it goes to forfeiture, yeah, we can assess it, but if it forfeits to the county and the county can't sell it for what our costs are, we're not gonna recoup those, correct? I mean, we can't assume, pass those on to the next property owner who buys it from the county forfeiture or anything, right?
What will happen is, the county, when they get it back, then within 6 months, they have to offer it for sale, but they have to first offer it for sale for the assessed property value according to the county assessor. And then if it doesn't sell, then 30 days later, then they can start offering it for sale for the balance of back taxes. And I believe that includes the assessments as well. And then if it doesn't sell, then they would likely sell it for less. But their starting point is to pay everybody off.
So they can't pay it off, and so let's just say we got 150 on it, and somebody who's willing to pay 100 later, we're out 50 grand then, right?
Yeah.
So I think we need to know what those numbers are, because at that point, you know, before we pay legal fees, if this same demolition costs, whether we condemn it and pay those legal fees and stuff, or he sells it to us for $1 and we demolish it, we come out ahead the other way. I think we need numbers.
True.
But the cost for us, let's say we do end up moving forward condemnation, we get it, you just mentioned it, and then we have to tear it down, obviously, or do something with it, or require him to tear it down. And then it comes back to the county. The county then has the responsibility to pay for those costs before the city would have to pay for those costs.
For tearing it down?
Yeah.
I talked to the county and they said they would likely not tear it down right away.
They did it.
Because
So
of
you
the
would let
cost.
it sit,
Yeah.
no matter
They would
what.
they said they would secure the building to keep people from going into it.
But that's more on a forfeiture standpoint if we didn't condemn it and demolish it.
Right.
Because otherwise it just goes there and ends up there in 2030.
Because when we condemned those, what was it, 6 houses? You know, all the cost of demolition went against the lot, right?
Yes.
I know this is a lot larger building, and the price is gonna be a lot more, but
You
we
got
had
potential
absolutely
hazardous-
no issues selling those lots once that house was gone. That I remember.
Didn't the county, like, they forfeited it back to the city? And so the cost was on us, but then we got to recoup by
we
selling
sold the
those
lot.
lots.
Right.
We actually are the ones that tore down the houses.
Yes.
We got, the owners all signed waivers. So they owned the property, we tore the house down. So we basically fronted the money, tearing the house down, put it on the taxes, got reimbursed over years of special assessments from those lots. It's how that worked. So,
So they ended up with 6 houses that needed to be gone, and we came out even, pretty much.
yeah, we got our money back on
We got
those.
our money back, but it took some time to do it.
It doesn't hurt to get the cost, I'm
Yeah.
certainly
Right.
supportive.
I'll just lay out the various scenarios and how much it would each cost. And if that,
Right.
you know, I just didn't want to do all that if I came in and you absolutely, we're not going to do this one or that one. So, okay, I can do that.
And things might change because after this meeting gets publicized and he finds out that what we're leaning at, he might change his mind and come with a different offer. So, okay. And 7H was scratched. We will now move on to unfinished business, Senate Sales Tax Committee.
So the tax committee convened on Thursday, March 26th, and at its hearing, they reviewed the request for an amendment to the Sauk Center local tax. I went down and provided testimony on behalf of the city at the hearing. So once they vote on this committee of the Senate and the passage of a companion bill in the House, which we haven't had that committee meeting yet, then the bill will go before both chambers for approval, followed by signature of the governor. So once passed, then a question would be placed on our ballot in November of 2026 for approval of the citizens. And if that passes, then we'll pass an ordinance enacting the tax and amending the tax at the State Revenue Department. So what's in front of us right now is we have $10 million that we are allowed to collect, and this bill puts it at $20 million, up to $20 million. If it's the 16 or the 15 or the 14, whatever that would be the cap, but it's just up to that amount. And so that's kind of where we are right now. When I went down there, Alexandria, the city of Alexandria and Douglas County also had local tax proposals, so there was 3 of us, and Tori Westrom was there, that we all had that discussion. So I think there's 30 in the entire state that are requesting either a new tax or an amendment to an existing tax. So that's kind of how we balance. I think when we enacted it, there was 26 cities that were requesting. This is kind of similar. There's been a moratorium for a couple of years. I really expected more, but there wasn't. So it's just informational at this point. I'll let you know whenever the House convenes their committee and go back down there again and give it another shot, and then we'll see what happens.
Vicki, how much have we collected so far on the 10?
We're just about 4 million.
4?
And we just started spending it down by paying for the projects that we're working on for
Okay.
phase 1 and phase 2.
Thanks.
I know the main reason why we even did that was because of the pure fact that way anybody that visits Sauk Center is paying
Paying
for
for
that
it, so
road
that-
rather than just the taxpayers of
Residents.
Sauk Center.
Yep.
That's right.
So that's the reason why I said they create their own destiny. If it makes it to where it goes on the ballot and they vote it down, well,
They're just,
then
Gonna be
don't
paying
complain
more.
about the taxes being sky high. Authors, second edition infrastructure timeline?
Just kind of, we're looking at the EDA, we had the design work is being done, it's underway. It could potentially be available for review by the council next meeting on April 15th. So that's up to Keith to see how quickly he can get that finished. If that project moves forward, bidding could occur in May, would allow completion over the summer months. So or later in this, it depends on the contractor when they can fit it in. This is kind of a small project for contractors, and it's a wide open field. There's no other infrastructure, temporary services, or anything that need to happen. So we're pretty confident we'll be able to get a contractor in here to put it together. They kind of looked through some funding and how we could make it work. But until I have actual numbers, it's kind of hard to say for sure. So hopefully we'll have a design here for approval to go out for bid. No public hearing required because it's assessing ourselves.
Any questions on that? Otherwise, we'll move into new business. Park shared exterior quotes.
As I have just,
You can
9A
just go down
through
the
E
list.
is all different public works quotes that were in project. During the budget process and the capital improvement projects, we just went through and I said, I just want to update you to make sure that you're aware that these are going on. We had the roof siding, the park shed, which is in the campground, at the entrance to the campground, that's been on the schedule to get basically reskinned. The bulk fueling system, which is between the city and the PUC, we talked about that at budget, so that we get fuel down at there. The tool cat is in the capital improvement plan. We talked about the Sauk Center parking lot, so we're kind of getting some estimates about what that would cost. And then also the EFS on the side of the building around City Hall, how it's all coming off and peeling off. We did have a contractor out and he looked at it and he said, I see hail all over this thing, so I turned it into insurance and see what happened. So we'll see where that goes. So just kind of some quotes and bids you'll be seeing coming up in the next meetings to consider.
Is the tool cat in bad shape?
It's at the point of hours where it's starting to see some wear, but it's still valuable enough we get a really good trade. So I had been telling him to get the quote and the government discount and the trade so we can get that before us to see what it really would look like.
It's kind of like a nickel and dime thing that's dinging us.
it's in their budget too.
Yeah. Okay, any other questions about those items? Okay, we'll move on to our consent agenda. You received a new one on your on the table in front of you. Schedule of claims, unpaid claims of $95,616.25. Paid claims of $1,120 for a total of $96,736.25. We have Resolution 2026-25, accepting contributions of $168.55 from the Men's Card Playing Group to be allocated to the Senior Center, $900 from the Cold Spring Fire Department to be allocated to our fire department, and $100 from the Sauk Center CVB to be allocated to the fire department. And on behalf of the city and the council, I want to thank those groups for their contributions. Is there any questions about the consent calendar as presented? Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved.
Motion by Brad. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Heidi. Last minute discussion. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Informational items.
A couple things, Weather and Awareness Week is coming up. Monday, April 13th is about weather alerts and warnings. Tuesday, the 14th, severe storms, lightning, and hail. Wednesday, the 15th, floods. Thursday, the 16th, tornadoes. And the sirens will go off at 1:45 and 6:45, so people are aware of that. And Friday is extreme heat. And if you go onto the Minnesota Department of Public Safety website, There's all kinds of tools. A lot of people use it for their children in the schools and even just with public information to make people aware of the weather awareness. A reminder, local Board of Equalization is Monday, April 6th at 1 PM here at City Hall. You have your Spectrum channel lineup, which didn't get in the packet, I guess. And then also the citywide cleanup day is May 13th. You do have the flyer in for the hazardous part. That's what Stearns County comes in and takes all the paints and poisons. But then we'll also have the metal, bring your dishwashers and things like that at the same time. And we're still working on that, on what they can all pick up and take away. There's a couple other options. People talked about, do we take mattresses? Do we take tires? Do we take e-waste? So those are all things we try to work out, but we also want an outlet without cost. So we'll see how that goes. But in the meantime, this is they'll do another one in the fall, or I think they would do it in August, but this is the spring one for Wednesday, May 13th.
Okay, questions about any of those? I just have one, I take it Monday, who's gonna be, we need a quorum.
I will be here.
I will not be able to make it.
Okay, and I will be,
I should be here.
you're gonna be,
I'm not sure if I'm gonna be on this far yet, but I should know tomorrow.
okay, all right. As long as we got a quorum.
Yep.
Because if we don't have a quorum, then it goes to the county and we lose our right to have it, so.
Yep.
I will make it work if I had to.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
That brings us to the end of our agenda. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Heidi, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Scott. Call the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 5 in favor, none against, meeting adjourned.